So the title of this video is going to be how to turn a $1 watch into a $100 watch. A little bit of a misleading title, but as I get into the details, you might see what I'm talking about. I bought this watch, a Geneve dress watch, for $1 a few days ago. It really busted the bank. And the whole idea behind it was to see how, I would say, arguably the cheapest entry-level analog watch fared, and just look at the quality control and if it was worth your money, because as we know, $1 is pretty valuable. So this is the biggest Achilles heel of the watch by far. It is a very cheap plastic leather that comes with the watch. It warps, it contorts, it has no form to it. As you can see, it just molds and breaks. I would say its biggest advantage, key characteristic over its competitors, is that it falls apart in your hands, which is pretty amazing. It has a very, very cheap tang and clasp. I would say the biggest advantage about this is that it doesn't cut your fingers when you're handling it, which is huge. Big props on that. It functions, but wearing it on the wrist, you can feel that there is quite a poor air of quality about it. So let's get into what I did that changed the thing completely. Are you ready? It was as simple as doing a strap change, and the watch is now transformed into something completely different. And as I say it, it's almost midday. That's pretty cool. So what I did was realize that I had a two-piece Zulu that came with my Geneve Ocean Rover. So I decided to attach it to this. To my surprise, the lug width is 20 millimeters, so it allowed for the strap to fit perfectly, and God, it changes the watch completely. I was in awe when I saw it all together. So let me get into some details of the watch before I go on too long. So as I said in my earlier video, the case diameter is 35.5 millimeters. The lug width is 20. And one of the biggest advantages by far is the fact that it has such a good balance between dial and strap. The lug width really plays into the equation when the watch is on the wrist, and it's a very prominent feature that looks amazing when it's on the wrist. This looks like something that maybe came out of the Second World War or out of Vietnam as a military watch, just a standard Timex styled watch. It's superb. Another thing I should specify is the movement has been incredibly accurate. I synchronized it and it is yet to miss a beat. It is still perfectly in time. It hasn't lost or gained any seconds over the last 2 days. So it's a good quartz movement. The only problem is that it ticks very loudly, as I shall now demonstrate. I'm sure you can hear that. If you know anything about quartz movements, you know that the quieter the movement, the better the quality of the movement. And this does not have a quiet movement, so quality is not exactly its strong point. Some of the things I noticed when I unboxed the watch, excuse the fingerprints, I don't have any gloves or cleaning cloths with me today. There is a small dimple at the bottom of the glass. I'll try and get it in the light. It's difficult to catch it. I think it's at the 7 o'clock position, and I had it a second ago. There. I don't know what that is. I think that's a dimple on the dial. I don't think it's a dimple on the glass itself, but I found that quite interesting to look at. The case itself hasn't been handled all too well. I should say this very sparingly, but it has a few little scuffs and scratches in places, which it came that way, which, I mean, is to be expected. I'm talking about this thing like it's a luxury piece, but it's $1. So what do you expect? The crystal is actually domed, and as you can see, it plays extremely well in the light, and it's awesome. It took me by complete surprise when I did the review on it a few days ago, and it has a bit of solidness to it, which is also awesome. It can probably take a few hits before breaking, which is cool. The numerals, let's get right into the dial before I wear the watch. The numerals are pretty well printed, spare a few who are a little bit overly printed in a few places, but the dial is nice and basic, nice and balanced. I think that having Geneve printed on the dial is a little bit weird, because it might turn a few heads and people think to themselves, is this really a Swiss watch? But in fact is just a brand name that someone decided to adopt, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's quite a nice name to call a watch brand, even though it is a very, very cheap brand itself. The case is fairly uninspired finishing wise. It has a small step down. The lugs are very straight, but as I will now demonstrate when it's on my wrist, it wears very well because of that reason. The case back is clear. You can see me in the background. I haven't cleaned the back at all, so it's a little bit fingerprinted up. But all in all, the finishing is excellent. There are no sharp edges on any of the parts of the watch, which is great. And it's superb. Really is a good everyday wearer. What I can conclude in saying is that this thing would be excellent when you're traveling overseas and you need something quick for any kind of journey. You can do whatever you want with this thing and you don't need to worry about it because it is, once again, $1. Now, I don't know if I said this earlier, but the strap itself is 25 times more than the price of the watch itself, which is not saying very much, but it does change the watch completely. And while I get rid of this Fraser collection watch, which I'm loving to bits on my wrist, I should specify about what I think is so special about a khaki or desert sand styled strap is the fact that it is so versatile. It works on practically any watch. It's extremely well fitting. I would say this because I'm a white guy. On a white skin, it is excellent. Your experience may vary, but it is superb. Changes the watch completely in every way. This strap is a very high quality Zulu strap. It's probably one of the best I've ever handled, and it came standard with the Geneve Ocean Rover. Brushed mechanics, brushed pieces, very well stitched. There's no heat treatment on any of this. It has been stitched entirely and it really is solid. You can see the width is almost the same width as the case of the watch. The watch case is maybe 7 millimeters in height, I would say. I haven't measured it properly, but that's what you get. So let's get it on the wrist and I will try to fit it as fast as possible. Yeah, so I've been taken by a serious surprise. It just goes to show that looks don't always mean everything. At the end of the day, you can really transform something with a few little touches. And there it is on the wrist. It is extremely comfortable, extremely flat in profile, very well wearing. You notice that the Zulu does tend to has to tuck itself in because it is quite long. But if I wear this thing completely in front of the camera, you can see how nicely balanced the dial is relative to the lugs and how well they play together. It looks so utilitarian and old-fashioned in that way that I'm blown away by a $1 watch. It goes to show that money doesn't always mean everything, and that I don't know, I think I'll call this thing Cinderella from now on. It really is quite a remarkable little thing. But in a nutshell, I've worn this for 2 days and it has been extremely comfortable. I haven't needed to take it off for any reason. It is just a superb little timekeeper, and I highly recommend you get one just for the novelty of saying that this is a $1 watch, and it could probably rival quite a few watches on the market today. And something I should say in closing is that I've enjoyed this review because instead of looking for features and instead of bashing the watch, I have been more appreciative of what's included in the watch, which is something a little bit different. It's a little bit of a reversal. Instead of looking at all the mistakes and flaws and some of the details that it includes now, I'm just trying to look at what they are willing to give you for $1 and to appreciate that for what it is. So yeah, really excellent little piece. I've thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this little guy. I think I might do a few more just for fun because this really has been quite an eye-opener, and I hope it's changed your opinion on these little guys too. So thank you very much for watching this fairly abbreviated clip. I hope to see you in the next one, and have a good day.